right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the world of Shahi Paneer. You know, that creamy, delicious Indian dish that you get at restaurants? Well, we're going to figure out how to make it at home, hopefully. We've got this YouTube video from Flavors for You, and it's pretty cool because it not only gives you the recipe, but it also kind of, lets you in on some of the little secrets, the little techniques. I think it'll be exciting to see how we can level up our Shahi Paneer game, right?
Oh, absolutely. And what I love about this video is it really does go beyond just like this step by step. Here are the ingredients. Here's what you do. It actually gives you some insight into why certain things are done in a particular way,
Yeah,
like a chef's perspective almost.
exactly. It's like having a little window into the restaurant kitchen, and yeah, the first step itself, like right off the bat, they do something, and I was like, interesting. They heat butter and oil together. Now, I don't know about you, but I usually just use one or the other. What's the deal with that?
Yeah. So, butter, as delicious as it does have a pretty low smoke point,
Meaning,
meaning it burns easily,
right.
especially when you're cooking at higher temperatures.
Oh, okay.
So by adding oil to the mix, they're essentially creating a buffer, preventing the butter from burning. It's like, giving you a little bodyguard.
Right.
And this ensures that you get this smooth, flavorful base for your dish.
Right. So it's not just about like avoiding burnt butter. It's about like setting the foundation for those layers of flavor that you're going to build on.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of layers, let's talk about the spices. This video goes all out with whole spices. Cumin seeds, cinnamon sticks, cardamom pods, cloves, you name it. It's like a whole spice party in that pan.
I love whole spices. I mean, I feel like they just have so much more depth than using pre-ground spices, you know? Like it's the real deal.
Oh, absolutely. And this process called tempering is really crucial in Indian cooking. By gently heating these spices in the oil, you're essentially activating them, releasing those aromatic oils, and infusing the oil with incredible complexity. It's like, waking up the spices and letting them sing.
Okay, yeah. Like a spice spa treatment, right?
Exactly. You're pampering those spices, bringing out their best.
Okay, so after our pampered spices have done their thing, we move on to the base. Now, onions and tomatoes, that's a classic combo, but then they throw in cashews. Cashews, I was not expecting that.
Right. It's a bit of a curveball, but a brilliant one.
So why cashews?
Well, think about cashews. They have this wonderful creamy texture, this natural sweetness.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you blend them into the sauce, they add this incredible richness and depth, almost like a dairy-free alternative to heavy cream.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about thickening the sauce. It's about like adding a specific kind of richness, right? Almost like a nuttiness that complements those spices we were talking about.
You got it. And it also contributes to that signature velvety texture that Shahi Paneer is known for. It's a trick that a lot of restaurants use, but it's surprisingly easy to replicate at home.
Mind blown. Okay, so next up, I noticed they were very particular about straining the blended sauce. Now, is that just about getting rid of any chunks, or is there like a deeper reason behind that?
It's all about texture.
Okay.
Straining removes any harsh fibers from the spices and vegetables.
Yeah.
You're essentially refining the sauce, making it silky smooth.
Yeah.
You wouldn't find those little bits and pieces in a restaurant's Shahi Paneer.
Right, right. So it's like taking that extra step to make it like truly luxurious.
Precisely. It's all about those subtle details that elevate the dining experience.
So we've got our smooth, flavorful base. What comes next in this flavor adventure?
Now it's time for the star of the show. The yogurt.
Ah, yes.
They add yogurt to the sauce along with some ground spices and then cook it until the oil separates. This is a technique that's pretty unique to North Indian cuisine, and it's where the magic really happens.
Okay. I'm intrigued. So what's so special about this yogurt technique? Like what's actually going on there?
So yogurt obviously brings in that tangy flavor. But it's more than that. This slow cooking process with the oil separating, it does something really interesting to the texture of the gravy. It creates this luscious, velvety texture that coats the paneer beautifully. It's like science meets art in the kitchen.
So it's not just about flavor, it's about visual cues too, right? Like that separation of the oil, it's telling you something important about the sauce.
Exactly. It's a sign that the yogurt is fully cooked, the flavors have melded, and the texture is just right. Experienced cooks often rely on these visual cues, like they're reading the language of the dish.
That's so cool. It's like you're not just following a recipe, you're like understanding the story the dish is telling you.
Exactly. It's about developing that intuition in the kitchen, that sixth sense.
And speaking of careful handling, let's talk about the paneer itself. The video was very specific about not overcooking it. Now, why is that? I mean, it's cheese, right? What could go wrong?
Well, paneer is a fresh cheese, and it has a very delicate texture. If you overcook it, it can become tough and rubbery. You want to maintain that soft, melt-in-your-mouth quality.
Right, right, of course. So it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance where it's cooked through but still retains that beautiful texture.
Exactly. It's a delicate dance, but once you master it, your Shahi Paneer will be on another level.
All right, so we've built this amazing sauce, treated the paneer with respect. What are those final touches that really elevate this dish to like restaurant worthy? What makes it sing?
Well, the video finishes the dish with a sprinkle of dried fenugreek, leaves kasuri methi, and a swirl of cream. Two simple ingredients, but they make a world of difference.
Oh, I love custard methi. It's got that almost I don't know, earthy, slightly bitter note that I really love. But what is it about those final touches that make them so essential, you know?
Think about it this way. You spent all this time building this complex, layered flavor profile. And then the kasuri methi king comes in and adds this final dimension. It's that earthy, slightly bitter note that cuts through the richness and creates balance. And the cream, well, that's like the luxurious finishing touch, both visually and in terms of texture.
Feels like the final brushstroke on a masterpiece.
Exactly. It completes the picture, taking it from good to extraordinary.
It really makes you appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into, you know, creating a dish like this. It's not just about throwing expensive ingredients together. It's about understanding the nuances, the interplay of flavors and textures.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about technique, precision, and a deep respect for the ingredients.
So, for you, what were the biggest aha moments in this video? What really shifted your perspective on Shahi Paneer?
For me, it was that unexpected use of cashews.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it's brilliant. Who knew that cashews could be the secret to creamy, luxurious Shahi Paneer?
And it's so accessible too. Like anyone can do that at home.
Exactly. It's not some fancy, expensive ingredient. It's something you probably already have in your pantry.
Yeah.
And then that visual cue of the oil separating from the yogurt mixture, that was a game changer.
Yeah.
It's such a simple but powerful indicator of when the sauce is perfectly cooked.
Those little details really make all the difference, don't they?
They do. And it's empowering to know that these restaurant secrets aren't so secret after all. With a little knowledge and attention to detail, anyone can create incredible food at home.
Speaking of which, do you have any like go-to resources or tips for people who are, you know, maybe a little intimidated by cooking or who just want to level up their game?
I always tell people, don't be afraid to experiment.
Right.
Try new recipes, explore different cuisines. There's so many amazing resources out there, cookbooks, online videos, cooking classes. But beyond that, it's about developing your intuition in the kitchen. Pay attention to those visual cues, those subtle changes in aroma and texture. The more you cook, the more you'll develop that sixth sense, that feeling for when a dish is just right.
It's about trusting your senses, not just blindly following a recipe.
Exactly. Cooking should be a joyful experience, a process of discovery. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
I love that. So we've talked a lot about the technical aspects of Shahi Paneer, but I'm curious about the cultural significance of this dish. Like, what's the story behind it?
Ah, that's a great question. Shahi Paneer, as the name suggests, has royal roots. Shahi translates to royal or kingly.
Oh, interesting.
And this dish was traditionally served in the courts of Mughal emperors. It's a dish that represents richness, celebration, and culinary finesse.
So it's not just about the flavors, it's about the history and tradition behind it.
Absolutely. Food is so much more than just sustenance. It's a reflection of culture, history, and identity. And understanding those deeper layers can really enrich our appreciation for what we're eating.
So when we're recreating a dish like Shahi Paneer at home, we're not just following a recipe, we're connecting to a culinary legacy.
Beautifully said. Yeah. And I think that's a powerful reminder that cooking is a form of storytelling. Every dish has a story to tell. And when we cook, we become part of that narrative.
I love that perspective. It really makes me want to dive even deeper into the world of Indian cuisine. So for our listener who's maybe feeling inspired to do the same, where would you suggest they start?
Well, there are so many incredible regional cuisines within India, each with its own unique flavors and techniques. If you're looking for a great introduction to North Indian cuisine, I highly recommend exploring Punjabi cuisine. It's known for its bold flavors, rich textures, and generous use of dairy. And of course, no exploration of Punjabi cuisine would be complete without trying their version of Shahi Paneer.
Okay, Punjabi cuisine is officially on my culinary bucket list. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I have to ask, that video we've been discussing, it really made restaurant style seem achievable. Not about fancy ingredients, but about understanding the why behind each step. Did watching it change how you view cooking at home?
It really did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I always kind of assumed those little details in recipes, like they were there for a reason. But seeing it all laid out, step by step and explained so clearly, it made it click for me. Like, oh, I could actually do this. I can unlock that next level of flavor.
It's like they're giving you the keys to the kingdom, right?
Exactly. And it's not as complicated as you might think.
So for our listener out there who's, maybe listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to try this. I want to make amazing Shahi Paneer at home. What's the one thing you want them to take away from this deep dive?
I would say this. Don't just taste Shahi Paneer. Understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the thought, the technique, the centuries of culinary tradition that have gone into creating this dish. And then go make it. Go try it yourself. Put all this knowledge into practice.
Yes, turn that inspiration into action. Now, before we sign off, I have to ask, what's one question that this deep dive leaves you pondering? Something that you might explore further on your own?
Well, we talked about the Mughal origins of Shahi Paneer, right?
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, like, how have other cultures adapted this dish? Are there variations on those core techniques that we talked about? That's something I'm definitely going to dig into.
That's such a great question. And it really highlights how food is this constantly evolving thing, this beautiful blend of tradition and innovation.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes exploring food so endlessly rewarding. There's always something new to discover, to learn, to taste.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave our listeners with that delicious thought. Go forth, explore, experiment, and until next time, happy cooking.